Okay, everyone, welcome to today's show, and we are going to cover the topic of assets over appearances. And you might wonder, what do you mean by that? And I think
I have
it's
no idea what that means.
well, I
I
think
was just wondering.
I think it's quite a good
Explain
subject.
it to me.
Actually, I'm looking forward to discussing this one today because I think it's such a relevant thing in today's society where we have this illusion of wealth created by people's appearances. Do you know, we live in a world where people spend an absolute fortune on looking wealthy. Well, do you know, in the background, they remain kind of that financially fragile, really. They've got everything's on tick, as we'll call it. But obviously, they've got finance and things on cars, and they've got big, massive mortgages and things as well. And it's all for other people's benefit for them to look wealthy, when in actual fact, wealthy doesn't really work like that. And to explain it and be a wee bit more simpler, appearances, especially today's society, it's all about that status symbol. Do you know, the flash car, the nice house, the designer clothes and things. Whereas if you're really building wealth and want to create something, it's obtaining assets which then generate income and grow in value over time.
That's an interesting one. You said that about the status thing.
Mhm.
I think the status thing for a lot of people has been around for centuries.
It has. I think it's
It's like
just kind of
it's like the whole thing
escalated.
about. I remember when people used to say to you, they used to get financial advice from their doctor.
That's crazy.
Honestly,
because they were in a position of
because they were in a position of authority, and
yeah,
people would normally bump into them at the golf club or the country club or wherever you want to talk about, and they would be talking about their investments, and then their doctor would say, well, what about this and what about that, and then they would actually take their advice. And I'm like, wait a minute, how do we know they're successful in
because they're
that
in a
field?
position of trust.
Yeah, and I do think it still goes on today. A lot of people actually don't question where that advice comes from, especially with the advent of social media.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to take my advice. Don't listen to this at all if you're not interested in increasing your wealth or knowing about wealth or and being, increasing your making your future better. I would say.
Yeah.
It makes no difference to me if you listen or not. I'll still be loaded.
Yeah. I mean, we do that. We do this show, Jim, to share experiences, talk about obviously all the knowledge that's in your brain and do you know all the years of experience and kind of have it all banked there. And if people take do you know advice from us and things, obviously we are not financial advisors or anything, but do you know some guidance and your experiences, obviously there's a lot to be said for what advice you give out, Jim, because of obviously your track record and your journey. But that's what we do it for. It's not like
Real wealth at its core is I suppose it's the relationships you have with people, but in financial terms, it's what generates without you seeing it. In other words, let's talk about it. It is passive income. It's an old cliche,
Yeah.
but it is passive income, and it is generated by the holding of assets, whether it's money, because you can have money invested and it produces income through interest that's given, or bonds or anything like that. Whether it's shares through dividends, that's the money it generates. Whether it's property, it generates money through the rents received. That's another way of doing it. So it's things like stocks. It's that, and that is what real wealth does. Real wealth is it still there, and does it still produce if your ability to perform is compromised? In other words, if you sat on a beach for the rest of your life and did absolutely nothing,
would it still work?
Still make money?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what real wealth is, and that's the hustle that most business owners and entrepreneurs do in the background, on the as well as the day-to-day stuff that they do in their businesses or in their jobs, in their professions as well. Because it's not just unique to entrepreneurs. You don't need to be an entrepreneur to be wealthy. All you need to do is understand the dynamics of how it works, and this is what we'd probably talk about.
Yeah, you've put it really nicely there, and I think in business and things as well. If you're running a business, if you were to walk out the door and take a couple of days off, would it all fall apart? And if the answer is yes, then you've not got it set up right.
You've got a job.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You probably left a well-paying job to actually start your own business, but you've not really got a business. You've got a job.
And
an unsecure job like that, because you don't know where it's going to come from.
Yeah, probably one that takes up a lot more time than actual your 9-to-5 job, say, would.
I know. Yeah, I was talking to my mum's gardener, and he was going, God, when I get home, he says, I've got to sit and do quotes and everything like that. And my wife's going to make and like, you're just falling asleep on the couch and everything. He goes, no wonder. I'm almost brain dead. I'm just continually working to get through and survive. Yeah, he's having to produce quotes when he goes home, and it's a continuous thing. And this is a misnomer that people don't understand. It's a false sense that people in business for themselves are actually making a lot of money, because it's not. The average person in a job, when I did this statistic, it was many years ago when I was told this statistic, the average person in a job actually makes 20% more than the average self-employed person.
And you would never think that. I mean, that's not the thought process of most people out there.
Yeah, some self-employed people aren't even making minimum wage.
Yeah, they will work all the hours of the day.
And they still don't have paid holidays like you would in a job. They still don't have their pension provision like you would in a job. And it's all like, why would you do it? Well, it sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, so the real and true wealth, like you say, is something that works without your input and behind the scenes. But a lot of people nowadays they put so much money in financing a lifestyle. Do you know, instead of actually building like ownership and assets and things that will actually generate that wealth without them being involved, they just want to look the part, and that's what we're trying to cause look at the difference from today and try and shift that thought process.
It's interesting that you said the words, they put so much money into financing a lifestyle, and I would say that's called being broke at a different level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In other words, you've got loads of money coming in, but then you've got 2 BMW car payments, you've got a Audi or whatever it is, you've gone for top of the range cars, you're leasing them, so you've got 2 payments, you've got a big massive house that you've got to finance as well, then you've got their energy costs that go with it, then you've got your council tax that goes with it, then you've got, and everything that goes with it on top of it. Then you've got maybe private schools, because you want to send your kids to private schools, or you want them to go to maybe extracurricular activities after hours, kind of like judo and things like that. So you get the best equipment and all the rest of it, and it's probably on a credit card as well.
Yes, mm-hmm. all that, and then all that financed.
And you think about it, it's just it's what you would call a debt-driven status.
Yes, that's a good. You've hit it on the head there, yeah.
And you know what causes this? What makes it worse now and amplifies it is this, not the phone, media. Social media. Yeah, social media, definitely every single time.
So also
a lot of people sit and look at other people's lives and sit and wish they had that.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know what's happening in that person's life behind those scenes. Broke at a different level.
It's strange. It's people's expectation as well. And I'll tell you a quick story just from a personal story. I bumped into somebody that actually, one of my investors, my landlords, bought their property and they moved to quite a popular place in their local area. And I hadn't seen them for a long time, and I bumped into them and they says, do you know how you're getting on? Where are you staying now? And I told them, I was like, oh, I'm still, do you know where I am? Sure. Oh, I thought you would have been elsewhere. And it's like that expectation that I would have been in some big fancy house. And I'm like, no, I'm fine where I am. I like my house. It's like, do you know, I like to do other things.
You need a big fancy house, like.
But it was the expectation that I should be somewhere else. So yeah, definitely.
And at that point, you just go, I tell you what we'll do. We'll compare your net worth against my net worth, and we'll see who's better off. And then we'll compare your risk if anything happens, you lose your job or anything, or your ability to perform is compromised, against my risk. If I lose my job, or if anything's compromised, or if I can't work because of circumstances, that's what. To me, that's what gives you complete peace of mind.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know that where they are, they'll have a much higher mortgage than what I pay.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and I think what happens with this, Richard, just to give you an insight into this, and I talk about this all the time. When you get a salary rise, for God's sake, put it away straight away.
yeah,
Put it away in an investment fund. Now, for me personally, it's just UK equities. I've
Yeah.
got no thing to go in the Standard & Poor's 500 now, because my nervousness with the Standard & Poor's 500 now is 40% of it is made up of AI companies, which in my
Really?
opinion, and most other people's opinions that are in the know, is overvalued.
hmm
Because we're all wondering how we're going to make all that investment in AI pay. And I think there's a correction coming.
Yeah, that's a risky business. Yeah.
So that's why I wouldn't want to touch Standard & Poor's 500 now, because of that. But I'm quite happy with the blue chip stocks, things like Diageo, Glencore, BP oil, things like that. They're all the companies that will be around for years and years and years to come.
You're not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
They're consistent producers, because they were built on the fact that they've got many small investors and investment pension companies investing in them, and they have to make sure they produce a return every single year in a dividend. And that's why they're like that. They're pretty stoic. They're set in their ways. This is how we do it. This is how we're not having huge, valuations. We're not having huge swings or anything like that. And I think that's, for me, that's the perfect investment for me personally.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely. But the thing with appearances and things, it's like, well, why are appearances kind of keeping people broke? Like keeping up with this appearance is keeping people broke. And we spoke about this in another show recently, and it's the lifestyle inflation. Whereas you hit it quite on the head with what you used to do is your salary would change, but you would keep you said, actually, I think my lifestyle actually went down because I kept the amount I spent over time,
Right.
rather than adapting to the lifestyle.
Absolutely. And I'll just jump to this section that we spoke about, because we've more or less covered the bits that you're wanting to talk about now previously. About I used to think every pound spent is a pound that could have been invested in compounding.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because
when I got to these opportunities of being able to buy that car I always wanted, to be able to upgrade to that house I always wanted, to be able to do the other things I always wanted to do, I kind of used to think to myself, do I really need it? Nah. And I just used to think about the compounding wealth it would give me. And I used to think, oh my God, I'll just put it back in and invest it again. It's like, I don't need it now. I don't need it just now, so I'll put it back in and invest it again. Because I could always take it out if I actually need it. This is the point. It's actually, I tell you what, it's probably reframing your and prioritizing your mind about building equity overall, and your investments and your cash flow and your ownership and all the different things you do out of that overall, to make sure that you develop that wealth, and that's what comes with it, and it's a lot to do as well as, and we'll probably jump onto segment 2 we've got here, is understanding what real assets are. The house you live in is not an asset.
No, because people get confused about what an actual asset is. So, and people will think that
house you live in is not an asset; it's a liability. In terms, because it does cost you money all the time. Now, you could argue, and I will debate this, and the fact that, well, I would have to pay rent if I didn't own a house. I would have to, but rent is the most you'll ever pay. The mortgage is the least you'll ever pay, because you have to pay for everything else, like repairs and improvements over the years, whereas the landlord pays for that on the house that you rent. And plus the fact you're locked in, and the fact that you've got to stay where you are, or you've got to sell, and you've got buying and selling, and to entry and exit costs of buying and selling. And then you're open to the market where the price might have gone up and down at the time you want to sell, depending on where it is. You might, oh my God, I've got to sell now. And it's like, oh, well, the market has now crashed. So you're going to take that hit. Whereas if you're renting, hey, 28 days, I'm off. As easy as that. So it's these sort of things. You've got to understand real assets. So what, in your opinion, Richard, is truly an asset?
Well, assets are things that, things like stocks or index funds, if you choose to do that.
Yeah.
Property, but when I say property, I don't mean your own home. We mean investment properties.
Mhm.
And of course, if you've got your own business and running a business as well, these are your four main, asset
And
classes.
business, remember, hold it. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Remember, I said anybody sitting there with a business that relies on their ability to perform is not
Yeah.
got a business, they've got a job. So,
And in order,
that the true definition of that, as you said before, Richard, if you want to know if you've got a business or not, go away for 2 months and don't get involved in it at all. And if you come back after 2 months and it's made money and it's grown and it's made you money,
function without your input.
yeah, and it's without your input, then you've got a business.
Mhm.
If you can't do that, you've got a job.
Mhm. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to have a team and automate things and have processes and procedures in place.
So what do then? You've given us examples of things like stocks, index funds, and property, and
All these different things.
and businesses and stuff like that as well. So explain this. What would they produce?
Yeah, so I say these are assets, but in order for them to actually be an asset, they firstly need to produce an income. So you need to have that income coming in.
That effectively means, to be honest, that crypto isn't really an asset, is it?
No, I wouldn't class crypto as an asset, no.
I would struggle to see if gold's an asset. I know it is because it can go up and down in value. It's tangible, and it is an investment to hedge people against inflationary pressure. But it still doesn't produce any income, so it's never been my sort of thing, gold or silver, for that very reason, because it doesn't really produce income. I like things that what you're going to talk about. I'll give you the three things. Your first one was income, wasn't it? What was the next one?
Appreciation.
Property.
Yeah, and I think people might argue gold and property, well, they both go up and down and things, but there's an argument there. But yeah, property, especially appreciation over time.
I would ask anybody to show me over the medium to long term that property is actually going down, because it's never done that. No, you can isolate and talk about, well, it's not really, because in 2000 to 2008, when the crash happened, if you look 2000 to 2008, it never got back to 2000 prices. From 2008, it went down 20% at the very most. That was it overall on average. So it's never crashed as such in that period. So if you take that in isolation, you could say that, but that's short term, isn't it? That's 6 years or 6 or 8 years. If you're talking about medium or long term, I'm talking about things like over 10 years and then 20, 30 years after that.
Yeah.
10 to 30 years, property's always performed. And it
if
always
you're in it for the long game, you'll see that appreciation over time.
So what else then would you say that assets would produce? What else would it give?
Well, it needs to produce that long term, as we just spoke about, financial security. So that you've got, again. Yes, yeah. We will of course come back to property.
I've got to say though, pensions in a for me, UK equities, pensions would, do the same thing. It does produce an income, it does appreciate over time, and it does give you long-term financial security. So for me, that ticks my box. And just so happens, I've got both.
Yeah.
I've got a business as well, several, for that very reason. So this is why I'm so optimistic and enthusiastic about these, because I do think these are the things that exactly what you said: stocks, index funds, property, businesses. They produce income, they appreciate, and they have long-term financial security.
Yeah, and if you look in the contrast to that, when we talk about liabilities, and an example, say a liability, if you want to buy a big flash car, well, that's going to drain your cash because it's going to depreciate. You're going to be plowing money into, obviously, fuel and all the rest of it to run it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. You nailed it. You just actually said it there. It doesn't appreciate unless you've got a classic vintage car. But
something
I've got a VW, T25 VW Devon conversion. Yeah, that'll keep its value, and it probably will appreciate over time. But I never bought it for that reason. I just bought it because it was at a good price, and I thought, oh, camper van original. You'll not get much of them in years to come because it's over 40 years old now. So for me, it probably is a good investment because I can use it and take it everywhere to festivals and stuff like that as well. So it saves me the money on having other places to live. As a result, instead of living in a tent, you've got a nice camper van with double bed and everything. Woohoo! So I think you're absolutely right. Liabilities that drain cash. What else drains cash?
Well, spending on, designer stuff. And I know people might argue, oh, certain designer handbags and things keep their value. But, designer clothes and, yeah. No.
Again, I would, hey, anybody that's watching this right now or later on, put a picture of what you've got. It's maybe a handbag or a designer thing. It has appreciated in value. I think that's going to be the sum zero of no people. Because I've not had anything like that. Unless you're buying something, well, paintings, unless you're buying a Jackson Pollock or a Leonardo da Vinci or something like that. That's the only way you'll ever appreciate in value because apparently they're in demand. To me, it's just paint and a canvas. That's it.
It's quite
this is not doing anything for me personally.
The fashion thing, the fashion thing, just to sideline a wee bit. It's such a inherent culture thing. Like, let's look at the Gucci belt. Now, I've actually got a Gucci belt on just now, but it's not real, and I wouldn't go out and buy a real Gucci belt.
Yeah, just buy the fake thing.
I didn't, but it's the thought process. But why wear it then if it's not the real thing? Mine somebody gave me.
It's to give you the buzz.
It's so like in here.
This is why I say, if you want to buy a Porsche Carrera or something like that, or a 911 or anything like that, just go and hire it for a couple of weeks and get it out of your system. Get the feeling, get the buzz, and see what it was like. And you've kind of anchored it within yourself. So you can look back and go, remember when we had that Porsche Carrera? That was brilliant. And it's like, you've no paid that huge price for it, and you've no taken that huge hit in depreciation for it. That's the reason why.
Yeah. The key thing I think to think about is if it's something that puts, if it takes money out your pocket, then question it. And if it's putting money in your pocket, then look to build it more.
Build more of it, definitely. And this introduces us to the wealth building formula then, what we talk about. And it's a practical framework. It's about earning, it's about having that reliable income that comes in. And then it's what you keep, which is more important. So let's talk about earn. Property earns, dividends from shares, stocks and shares that you own earns, your job earns, your business earns. These are the sort of things, but you find there's different types of earnings, I would say. So think about that, because your job is your ability to perform. So you're trading time for money, ultimately. Your investment in funds, I think. But they're not reliant. You keep it tweaked now and again, but they're not reliant on you to do something miraculously. This is why when I was running my property, when I was working full time as a financial controller and a financial director in industry, that I was able to self-manage about 30 properties, and my 30 properties was producing more than what my job was.
And your salary,
And at that point, people would say, "Well, why do you not give up then?" But there wasn't that tipping point. If I'd then started using that money, then I would have just stayed where I was, and I wouldn't be able to reinvest any more money because I had nothing else to invest. I'd be living off that income. So it's like, that's why you want to get to that tipping point where you could live off that income, but you could continually reinvest a substantial amount after that and build wealth over the medium to long term. That was the whole point. And I kind of think it's the same when it comes to pensions. When it comes to stocks and shares, that wealth building formula. So what do we need to do then to build that reliable income? What sort of things, what type of framework and what type of mentality do we need?
Well, discipline, your financial discipline to not overspend and, like you say, be consistent with reinvesting what you make on your income from their assets and build them further. Financial discipline, and it's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, it might take a wee while, but once you get into that, you could keep it consistent.
See, these are two words which are synonymous with wealth building, isn't it? Consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have if you're not consistent in doing that, then you'll not get there as quick as you should be getting there. I mean, anything's better than nothing, to be honest, because it's like the old adage about 20% of something's better than 100% of nothing. So just even putting 20% and 20% effort in will get you something at the end, but it won't be putting 100% effort in. And I think that's the thing.
Yeah, I found it myself that the discipline and the financial discipline of things, it's not something that's just going to happen overnight, especially when you try like to reduce your unnecessary spending and things. I mean, you know what is the things you should be spending on and what you shouldn't be, but it's a gradual thing. You need to get into that habit of, right, okay, I don't need to be spending money on that. Keep that, do you know? And then, right, so if I'm keeping this back, where do I put it? Do I put extra into my pension? Do I put it aside to buy an investment? Or do you know? It takes a wee while to get that kind of in your mind.
Well, let's talk about that sort of mentality and framework. One of the cars at Release just now has come up for renewal. I could buy it, or I could just roll it on for another year.
Yeah.
So they've given me a figure to buy it, but then I'm still waiting on the figure to roll it on for another year, because it'll depreciate over the year.
Yeah.
But I could still hand it back after a year if I don't own it. So I might not want that responsibility of owning it. See how that works? It's kind of similar to buying a house and renting a house, sort of. And it's like, I like the fact that, and plus the fact the finance is actually deductible against the profit. Whereas buying a car, you get capital allowances, but it's not, I don't think it's as generous, but the risk it's involved in holding a car, because then what happens if something happens to it and it breaks? It's like, then you've got to replace it. Whereas if it's something that happens to the car, it's under warranty, you can just hand it back.
Or they'll fix it.
So I think for me, that's the sort of, so it's the is it unnecessary spending to me to buy the car outright rather than actually just continue to lease it for another year?
Once you've got the numbers, you'll be able to make that decision.
Yeah, nailed it. And then it's like, could I take that money I would have bought it with and actually reinvest it in the business and actually generate a better return, which would actually offset against the finance cost? Because the finance cost would be about, I think it's going to come in about 200 a month. So it'll be the finance cost will probably be about 20% of the purchase, I would say, to do that. But it's deductible. So 25% of so 75% of 20%. Everybody understand corporation tax? If it's 200, it's deductible. So, but if it's 20% of that, it's really only times 0.75. It'll probably be 15%. So it's only 15% you're losing.
Because it's the business,
yeah, and you can hand it back. You've got that peace of mind and comfort that you could just hand it back, and then you could just get another one. But it's good for business, and businesses could work like that because it makes them look pristine all the time. But is it really the best way to go for somebody that actually owns? There's no secret that I run about in the cheapest car that we've actually got in our pool.
Yeah.
And yet I'm the owner. and it's almost, I would say it's a collectible. Every now and again you have to stop and pick up a bit it's fallen off to collect it.
Really?
I'm only kidding.
Collectible.
It's an old joke about your car. I've got a collector's car, and everybody goes, "Wow!" He goes, "Yeah." Every now and again, I have to stop and pick a bit up. It's fallen off. When everybody thinks it's vintage, it's no. It's but hey, it does the job. Gets me from A to B. I couldn't care less. It's just
as long as it does that, yeah.
But
I think once you get that,
I do see people around me now and again, and I've actually seen two today. Somebody tried to tell me something. I saw two Aston Martins today, and I just think to myself when I see an Aston Martin, I think, God Almighty, that's 120 grand. Who would spend?
Dude, I know where you've been this. I know where you've been this afternoon. I think I know one of them that you've probably seen in it, and it is really nice. I mean, I've passed it a few times. Is it the black one?
Car, but it's like
is it the black one?
Awful amount of money. It's like I could think of better things I could do with £120,000.
Yeah, I
might give you that enjoyment, and you might want to live for. I mean, some people live for today. My financial director in industry previously, I asked him about this because I taught him how to invest in property, and he made quite a killing before the before the credit crunch. So because he sold off early, and he made about 80 to 100,000 pound in profit because I taught him how to do it. But he was a live for today person. He says, and I says, why would you not invest for the future? He says, well, my wife and I made a conscious decision just to spend it now, rather than actually, because it's just, we don't want to be in that position where we've got all this and we've just never done anything with it. So we just live for today, effectively. And I thought that was quite surprising, but quite honest of somebody that's in a financial director's position. Actually, and maybe quite refreshing. I know it's, for me, it just seems no right.
I know, but I suppose everybody
for them,
is.
it's like, it works. It works for them, I suppose.
Yeah, and I suppose everybody is, they're still entitled to make their own decisions. And if that's right for them, then that's right for them.
Even if it's the wrong decision.
Yeah, I suppose.
So yeah, and then you have to invest. So you keep the financial discipline, you reduce unnecessary spending, like what you said. A good one is just go through your bank account. You go through your bank statement and go, what was that? What was that? What was that? Start itemizing it for the next 6 months. Even write down in a book what you're spending your money on, and you become more conscious and aware of it, especially if you start using cash to do it. Because it's easy to swipe a card all the time. But if you start using cash, you'll be going, whoa, wait a minute. What am I spending? You become more conscious to it.
What's really good as well, though, and most people will use a banking app now, and I've got the Bank of Scotland, and if you go in, you could actually click a button and it actually breaks it down into shopping and bills, and it shows you where you spend all your money. It's quite good.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it help?
It does, and I mean, I've tweaked my spending. It still needs a wee bit of work sometimes when I look at it, but it's quite good to click on it and have a wee look and think, oh God, I didn't realise I was spending that much on this and this, because
so if you do make savings out of that, then you'd want to allocate that consistently into maybe an appreciating asset, like we spoke about, like maybe your pension, maybe stocks and shares.
At the moment, I've just put extra into my pension as well.
Yeah, there you go. So it works for you if that's the case. And I think as well, when you get a salary rise, like what I did, or if you're climbing up the corporate ladder and you're getting increases all the time, which is what I did, it's like I just tended just to live on the same as what we lived before on, and actually reinvested all that I was making extra all the time in property. Now, why did I do that? Because I had a formula in my mind about how this is going to work. And I thought to myself, the quicker I can invest now, the quicker I can retire financially free. So the quicker I could do it now, the quicker I could retire financially free. It was only a matter of time because the formula was set in stone. The plan of how I did it wasn't. That was in the sand. And the waves can come away and the sea can come and wash that away every now and again. And you just have to then rejig your plan again. And that's just how, that's life. That's life. It happens to you. That's what that is. But you still know that's your ultimate goal, and you still know it's a foregone conclusion if you keep doing that. It's like how was running marathon. I've got the London Marathon t-shirt on. And everybody think, oh, you ran 26 miles. And it's like, no, I ran 370 miles to be able to run 26 miles.
Because you had all the
So all the work I put in previously, investing, see that? To be able to get the payoff, the marathon at the end. That's exactly what you do in terms of what you're doing for your financial future. So start early. Children can start early. You can start from birth for a child for a pension. Please do it now. It is the most important thing you'll ever do for your children, because there's talk already, and Tony Blair put it in the Times the other day about the pensions now, the state pensions now outdated. I think it should be gone. It's not working anymore. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I knew it was coming. And this is the prelude about, oh, we're going to increase the state pension age to 70. And the next minute they go, oh, well, it's only going to be 67. And everybody goes, oh, that's good. It's like, wait a minute, they put it up 2 years. And you've all accepted it. See how they did that?
Yep.
So it's just an introduce now to do away with it in 20 years' time. So they get it all out everybody's system, so they're not up in the streets, and they just gradually phase it into culture and phase it into your mentality about why we shouldn't have state pensions anymore. It's like, that's fly. Knew that was coming. It's why put mandatory company pensions in place.
And that's why discussions like this are so important, because until you and I really started to drill down and talk about pensions, I never really appreciated the true, value they will have later on if you've got a private pension. And then that's when I thought, I'm going to do this. And I've got, when I get bits extra, I put extra in there and things, and look, quite rightly so, because we're not going to have a state pension.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
going to have that to fall back on.
So then you constantly apply, all that, the
consistency and
your wealth and that, and they'll reinvest, they'll compound gains over time, they'll investment lessons compounding rewards patience and consistency more than intensity. Just be patient, just let it go. If the stock market drops, you get out your app and you look at your pension and go, oh, my pension's dropped. Aye, but you've got another 20 years to go.
Yeah, I'll do a full circle.
Yeah. So why does it matter right now?
I think it's the whole...
See how we all get engrossed into that?
Yeah. It's the whole, like you're saying, patience and consistency more than intensity. People just want things, so fast and try to 100 miles an hour. Whereas if you've got something right and set up right, just be patient with it, and over time it will eventually reward. Yeah,
wealth is rarely built overnight, and it's built through repeated smart decisions. And it doesn't really need to be that smart. It just needs to be like, that's what I'm putting into that fund every single time, every single month. That's all you take, and let time take care of the compounding.
Yeah, and when we talk about smart decisions, and I think smart educated decisions, is when you start to look at the kind of principles between that then relate to investment success. And they might sound very easy. I'm going to run through them, but they are that easy, and that's what I think people get confused about. They think it's so complicated and you need to know it, and it's not. And it's really like the core principles for, like you say, even like when you think about pensions, start early, as soon as you can.
If you're a grandparent and you've got grandchildren, get a pension for them now. The government gives you the lower rate tax onto their pension, onto the contributions that you put in for your grandchildren, and your parents put in for your grandchildren, their parents. They top it up to the basic rate. So if you both, as a family unit, the grandparents and the mum and dad, if they put, or relatives, if they put anything into this pension for this child, and it goes up to 2,880 at max, the government will top it up to 3,600 in the fund. So they'll give you free money to their pension from birth.
Yeah. Think about that over all that time.
It's mental, eh? It's like when you, God almighty, if I'd known that. But I knew that earlier on, because I worked all that out, and I did it with my children as well. So that's why they're sitting with 6-figure pension funds. They're now.
And they're in the 20s.
Yeah, in the 20s.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's folks saying, I'm retiring at 60-year-old, I've only got £50,000. It's like, flipping heck. My kids are half that age and they've got double.
Yeah.
But that's to teach them principles, to start early, invest consistently, think long term, and avoid emotional reactions. This is like, oh, Trump's made a huge mistake and he's done something. The market's crashed. It's affected your pension fund. Yeah, but next month it'll go up. So if that happens, buy. Invest more when the market drops, because when your fund drops, you invest more, and then it'll go up eventually over a medium or long term again, and you've got the upside of that as well. And that's the key. You buy when it's going down to get when it's going back up. Now, obviously, clearly, if the company's going out of business because it's a catastrophic disaster, you don't buy on the way down, because they're clearly going to the bottom.
No, they're clearly going out,
But if it's just one of these volatile things about oil crisis, Trump opens his mouth because he's no had his breakfast, things like that. And suddenly the stock market drops because he's upset because his bacon's no crispy. These sort of things. That's when you start to say to yourself, "Let's buy," and then it'll go back up.
And what you're explaining there is really, it's true. It's the psychology around the market. Do you know how you think about that? And it's true, like the fear and sometimes also greed can really drive people to make poor decisions.
When people are greedy, be fearful. When people are fearful, be greedy.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha.
Yeah. And again, and on top of that, anyone who's successful in investors and things, it's always staying disciplined, no matter what, and not letting things sidetrack you.
I think just as a sidetrack here, I think this is the most important time for young people to invest in their future this way. And the reason I say that, because it's not easy for a young person to start a business just now, because what's happened is the government's basically bailed out most businesses since the credit crunch.
Yeah.
Every single business that used to fail then created a lot of new entrepreneurs, because they then stood at, the restaurateurs, the pubs and all the rest of it. They used to, that pub would go to business. It's like somebody else would open up, and then they would take their customers, and then they'd be on the train again. And that's where the younger generation had the opportunities to have these jobs and everything, because people lost their jobs as well. The younger generation came along, they were able to pick up these jobs. But because we bailed out, the governments have bailed out all these jobs and everything, and our generation, my generation, probably your generation as well, Richard, then it's actually made it difficult for the younger people to actually get into these opportunities anymore.
Yeah.
So the only thing left they've got to do is this for their future, is get a job and just compound your wealth over time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there is a few kind of beginner-friendly paths. And I mean things like what we've spoke about, index funds and things, and dividend investing as well, and of course property, and then your pensions as well. Just things like that. Pensions are a really easy one for your long-term, financial future. To just from a very early time, just put that bit into it and keep doing that.
Absolutely. Dividend investing's key here. Now, when you get a dividend, don't run it and spend it. Just reinvest it and buy more of the stock. I know you think, I'm going to wait to time the market. No one gets that right, by the way, timing the market. It kind of doesn't work for most people. It is a very, very niche quality in someone. It's very rare to get it. Yeah. Most active fund managers do not outperform the market. I'll say that again. Most active fund managers, in other words, looking after funds, trying to time it, don't outperform the standard market, the index funds, the UK equities, things like that, the low cost, Vanguard fund. Low cost admin fees, but invests in specific funds all the time. They say it's high risk investing in UK equities. And I'm like, really? I wouldn't have called that high risk. I would say that's kind of just middle of the road now. Yeah. But they still think it's high risk because it could go up or down and all the rest of it. But kind of over the long term, most of these companies actually go up. Plus the fact you're diversifying your risk by a standard fund, because they've got a package of investments in there with businesses. And as I said, it is like the BPs, the Glencore, the Grand Met, the Diageos, the big blue chip stock.
Yeah,
the corporates actually know what they're doing. I've been here. They've been here for years. And they'll be here for years to come, I would say.
And they're producing a product and a service that's always going to be here for a long time.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most important thing, just to keep reinvesting, and don't actually think, we're getting a huge payout. It's like, I'll tell you what, we'll just do a massive holiday. You've got to think to yourself, that holiday is going to cost you maybe a couple of years extra that you've got to work later on. Think about that. That one holiday for that 1 week that you decided to take on that beautiful place is going to cost you another couple of years later on working for a couple of years just for that holiday for 1 week.
Yeah.
And you ask, how is that possible? Well, let me give you an analogy here. If you double up 1 pence for 31 days, like 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 6, you get the gist.
Yeah.
By the time you get to day 31, it doubles up to just under £11 million. Yeah. You've seen it on Limitless Win. When it goes up all the time, and it's like, wait a minute, you're only about 4 away from $1 million. And then now you're only in 100,000.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Same idea, yeah.
But what you don't realize is if you forget to invest in the 1 pence on day one, you've lost 5.5 million on day 31 because you're now only doing 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've lost 5.5 million because you never put 1 pence in.
And that is the reality. Yeah.
That is mental. That just blows my mind, that when you think about it in that context.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. So you have to focus on income generating assets. And really it is things like the rental properties, it's the dividends that pay stocks, it's the online businesses, it's possibly digital products, but dodgy when we come into digital stuff. I'm a bit nervous about these areas. I'm a stoic in like property and UK equity,
reliable
pension. Yeah, reliable stuff.
Flow asset, yeah.
Stuff that I know if one goes down, the other one's going to be there, and if one goes down, I could easily sell it all and still I would still have the shirt on my back. I don't lose everything because property doesn't crash to zero; it crashes to what 20% at the very most before. And that's about it, really. So yeah, okay, I can take a hit at 20% because my equity, my loan to equity is maybe 40%. So I've got 60%. So I come out with 40% in my hand.
Yeah, with property, like you're saying, you've got the cash flow and you've also got the appreciation over time as well. But do you know that cash flow? I mean, how important is that cash flow, Jim?
Freedom. Or should I get should I get a Scottish flag painted on my face and a sword in my hand and put my kilt on and go freedom?
But the cash flow does it does do that, and that's ultimately what it's about.
But that's what it is. It's time. The one thing you don't really want the money, you want the time that the money buys.
Yeah, because the time then that gives you the ability to change your lifestyle.
Yeah, nobody laid on their deathbed and wished they had more money. It was more time, every single time.
Always.
Excuse the fun. But it's true. It creates freedom. Freedom reduces dependence on active work. Hence the reason why my true purpose of developing something that never relied on my ability to perform was to be able to do anything I wanted to do and say anything I wanted to say without any repercussions from anyone to my income. Won't make any difference because I've got it all built in wealth, assets. It generates money all the time. I can go away, sit on an island for the next year, come back, and it's probably grown.
Yeah, because
you've got more money.
You've got set up these predictable income generating assets.
Yeah, it's pretty predictable and it's dead boring. But do you know what Keith Cunningham said to me? Rich dad, boring pays well, Jim. As he said, cha-ching, 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 and did that in front of me. And I went, I have no idea what you're talking about, Keith, but I'll have a wee think about it over the next couple of years. And then the penny dropped. It was like a couple of years later, it was like, yeah, boring does pay well. Just stop tinkering with it. It works.
I think in order to get to that stage, like the boring stage, you need to have these kind of habits, invisible habits. And we spoke about this previously, like the invisible habits, the invisible wealthy mindset of habits. And that's like delayed gratification and having a grasp on, your financial literacy and being consistent and always thinking quite strategically and taking risks, but obviously the thought process behind a risk.
That's exactly that exactly applies to, as I said, I used to say that we'll buy a bigger house, we'll buy a better car. And the first thing I thought about, I'm going to delay the gratification again because I understand the financial dynamics behind it and I'm going to be consistent about it. And it's a way of strategic thinking and thinking, if I get this and I do this now, I will delay my financial freedom. And I want to be financially free as quick as possible. And it was only a matter of time as the 1 pence doubled up. It's like, why would you then stop putting the 1 pence doubling up at day 16 and then wait a couple of years and then start again? Crazy, eh?
I mean,
if you understand it and you know you cannot lose, what would you do? What would you do? That's how I felt. Yeah. I cannot lose at this. I cannot lose. That's how I started. I cannot lose. This is a mathematical formula that works I invest this, I buy this. It's literally just monopoly. The game Monopoly on a real scale. It's so simple. And yet people think it's so difficult and complicated to actually generate wealth. It is not. If you understand it and understand how you are. But the problem is most people don't have the belief within themselves that they can do it.
Yeah. And it's funny you say about like the big holiday thing and all that money. And I'll be turning a certain age this year, and we were going to go away on holiday. And when I tallied it up, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I was like, no way. I was like, well, go, I think we're going to do a road trip to Scotland or something and just do something different. Because I thought, I'm not doing that. Because I thought, how long would it take me to replace that? And no. So
yeah, it's like when
we
Elaine
do things like that later on.
When Elaine and I started out for the first time, we'd just bought our house. We decided to get married. Married man's allowance, 500 quid extra a year. Couldn't resist that. It's a true story. We spent 300 quid to get married. That was it. 300 quid. What do folks spend today? 20,000?
There's no way. There's no way.
It's like, there you go. 300 quid when we got married. That's all we spent. Admittedly, you take into account rings and stuff like that. It was a wee bit more. But probably we got married for the total sum of under £1,000. And that was it, done and dusted. And that was at a registry. We had a few guests at the main meal. We had 125 people at the reception later on. And we had a buffet as well, all spread out, baked potatoes and everything, and all the different fillings that goes with it. And it was in a disco and everything, and it was a fantastic night. By the way, if you're having a wedding reception, please have a disco.
Yeah. Why would you not?
All right, having a band, but I just love discos.
Yeah. But the thing about weddings, and they've just become so commercialized and totally targeting at somebody as a consumer, and it's crazy. I mean, the amount of money that people spend for one day, and is it really?
Yeah.
And it's to show off. It's a status thing.
Yeah, and you think to yourself, it's like, wait a minute, you could put that into buying. You could buy a house.
Yeah.
Your deposit is there. I mean, it'd be interesting to know the people that have actually got married that claim that they can't get a house because they have to rent now. It'd be interesting to know how much they actually spent on their wedding when they got married.
To get married, yeah.
I have a sneaking suspicion that quite a lot of these people would obviously have spent just as much as their deposit for their house. Or the people that were helping them, maybe their mum and dads and stuff like that, spent just as much when they would have been better just giving them a deposit for the house.
Yeah.
Because that's an investment in their future.
They're much better, yeah. Much better way. But so, yeah, sorry, back to invisible habits and things we're talking about.
Yeah, so the core truth is, the quietest assets often create the louder futures for you. It's like just standard index funds, UK equities, stuff like that, just pensions and property and high interest ISAs. ISAs are good as well because they're tax advantageous, but you have to look into that and get an advisor to take you through that, because ISAs I have never invested in ISAs. And because I can't find anything that outproduces property over the long term. And people can go back and go, well, what about Meta and what about Apple and all the rest of it? And it's like, yeah, but who cares? It's like, I'm all right where I am now, and are you there?
But the only people that really...
It's like that. But it's like that. People will criticise you are the people that are actually didn't invest in Apple, but they're all ready to criticise you for being financially free. You could have invested in Apple, but it's like, did you then? No. Yeah. Well, shut up.
And did anybody? I mean, did anybody know that Apple would be as big as what it is today?
I know. I remember when Apple was on their knees.
Yeah.
Honestly, and if you watch the Jobs film, that was at that time when they were on their knees, when Jobs got kicked out and everything like that, and you just like they wouldn't toe the line with him, and it was just a for want of a better phrase, shit show. I remember a guy that actually lived at the back of Cooper in Craig Sanker House. He was an Apple salesman in Scotland. And
Craig Sanker, that's a wedding venue now, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yep. But it was a private house at that time when they had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his Bentley sat in the garage under a cover, and he was an Apple salesman. I think he was involved with Apple at that time, and then obviously it went pear-shaped, and I think that actually he was a casualty at that time of that. for that reason. So that's maybe why Craig Sanker is now a wedding venue instead. So it's the focus on the long-term ownership instead of the quick validation. I think that's the most important thing. Let's talk about your accumulation plan then, Richard.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people that are listening to this might think, well, where do I start? What do I do?
30-day challenge.
Yeah. Set yourself just, and not big, audacious goals, just simple things like, cut out one unnecessary expense. I know I've done it multiple times now because I had a few. Over time you'll do it, and then redirect your money into investments. And if it is something just as simple as putting a wee bit extra in your pension, fine. And then open or increase an investment account. Like I said, just put extra into whatever investment you've got. If you've got stocks, if you've got a pension, if you've got property, or you're saving to buy property, something like that. And then build your knowledge as well. Whether it's listening to us two or reading a book or doing something, just learn one new kind of investment concept or something. Whether it's once a week or once a month, or as long as you're adapting your knowledge consistently.
I listen to the experts in their field. One of the guys I'm listening to now is Scott Galloway.
Yeah,
very knowledgeable when it comes to wealth building, and very knowledgeable about the future and where things are going. And analysis. So I listen to people that are experts in their field in order to get an idea about where I am. Actually, learning new subjects is actually really good for fending off things like dementia and stuff like that. They've actually realised it's actually you're regrowing the roots in your brain. It's when you get into doing the same thing all the time that nothing regrows. Your brain starts to take over different parts of your other parts of your brain, which would otherwise be doing things like your visual cortex and stuff like that instead. And you're thinking and you're creative and all the rest of it. So that's why you have to continually make sure you learn new things all the time and be a continuous learner in your future. And that's what keeps your brain healthy overall. So
that would make sense.
Get stuck in just doing the same thing all the time. You're just it's a workout for the brain, isn't it?
Yeah, because that repetitive kind of Groundhog Day, it's like you're not really.
Why do you think your arteries fur up? Because you're just using the same things, the same neural pathways in your brain all the time. So obviously it's going to go round in a loop all the time, and it's going to eventually wear out, and that's why your brain wears out. So you want to create new neural pathways in your brain all the time by learning new subjects. I've got a course for AI. I'm quite interested in it. Anthropic, who are one of the big AI companies. They've developed an online course, so I'm kind of thinking, I'm going to get my teeth into that next. And these are the sort of things you want to do. I like what you say, and just recap on that. Just do one unnecessary expense. Don't go overboard, because just do one a month then. If you really want to go overboard, do one a month, but don't do it all at the same time. It's like trying to give up. It's like trying to give up something. It's like, just go cold turkey.
Yeah, I'm going to give up sugar.
Going cold turkey is going to be a nightmare for you. You're better just easing out of it. Like I eased into being a vegan. It took me 7 years to do that, or something like that, or 4 years, or I can't remember. 4 years vegetarian.
I think it's supposed to be 4 years veggie, and
then I changed it, but it was transitioning all the way through. I've been cutting out things like milk eventually, and the last two things were to go were eggs and cheese. And that's just the way it was. But I didn't go, I'm just going to go vegan, and then oh my god, I'm starving, I'm going to have to eat something. Right, I'm going back to eating meat. That's just not the way to do it. You've got to ease yourself into this, and then you begin to automate things. You become, especially investing, you become automatic in investing. It removes this emotional thing about things going up and down, about the market swaying and everything like that. Oh my god, the market's so high. Should I really put money in this month? Yes. It's just remember,
do it consistently.
Fund managers do not outperform. Most fund managers do not outperform the market on a consistent basis, because you'll get months where it'll be right down and you'll be going, should I invest? Absolutely. See, so it swings and roundabouts. You're going to even it out over a period of time. But there's obvious ones. For me, I definitely just know. It's like when Trump opens his mouth and the stock market drops, I kind of think, is there anything really behind that? Or is it just people panicking on emotion?
It's a reaction to what he's saying.
Panic on emotion, right? Let's get some money into our fund. And it's down, and then a month later it goes up by about 20% again. And you're like, 20% in 1 month. That's kind of what I do.
Where everybody's listening to the noise.
Yeah, it's still there. So it's still compounding from that point. But I then bought in at a lower rate then to do that. But don't hold out for that. Once you understand the dynamics first. That's the whole point of doing this. And do small investments, and they will become powerful through repetition.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And just to kind of round it back to the topic of today, I mean, we're talking about assets and appearances. And, you know, asset ownership and investment and things, they really do change everything. And hopefully we've kind of conveyed the message today that your appearances, they may impress people temporarily, but assets really change, do you know, your entire family permanently if you've got a family and you're investing for the future. So, do you know, that ownership and asset ownership can really create leverage for you to change your future. And investing creates your own independence. And you can only do that with discipline. And that discipline ultimately is what will help you create your wealth.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah.
So start early. The earlier you build your assets, the sooner your future will begin to pay you back.
Yeah. And it's choosing these assets over appearance. And one day your investments will fund a life others are trying to imitate.
I think you stand testament to that, Jim.
It's the tortoise in the hare, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's like I was the tortoise and everybody else was the hare. Look at what we've got. Look at what we've got. Mm-hmm. We've got this. We've got that. We've got this. Yeah, okay. I'm just creeping slowly up.
Yeah.
And it's by the time you notice the tortoise is overtaking you, it's like, oh my God. It's like, how did that happen? Yeah, okay. Compounding over time.
Over time.
Leaving it to build. And I still do that today. And I'm like, is there any point? Am I going to get to some sort of point where I think, okay, that's it? It's like, yeah, we'll do something with it now. And it's like, no, really. I think it's just that once you get to a point, you start enjoying the journey. And you start enjoying the journey for other people as well, more importantly. Mm-hmm. So you've got that opportunity to help other people are maybe not able to get in that position. I think that's the most important thing for me. I always want to get in a position where nobody in my family would ever suffer as a result, because I saw so many people over a period of time, and still do today as a landlord, it actually fell on difficult times and maybe got things like a diagnosis for, I don't know, things like diabetes and cancer and everything like that. And then when I sat with them and I said, so what's happening with this? And it's like, well, I've got to wait on an appointment coming out for the hospital. And it's like, so when's that going to happen? Is that going to be next week? Well, it says I'll just have to wait and they'll write out to me. Sorry? You've got cancer and you're going to have to sit and wait for them to write out to you. I would not be accepting that. And that's why I wanted to put myself in a financial position where I could just go, I tell you what, I'll just get somebody.
I'll go get somebody.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit and wait and put my whole life, because you only go around once, you ain't coming back, and it's not a dress rehearsal, and my whole life in the hands of another person. Never.
No. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And that's what looking at assets a lot more than thinking about your appearance will actually bring you in your future. So we will leave it there today. That was a really good show. I hope everybody listening enjoyed that. You could jump in the comments box, or you could reach out to me direct, and my email's in the comments and the attached blog if you want to ask any questions. And until next time, Jim and I will see you on the next show.
Bye for now.
Thanks.